What's up, everybody? V Club here, the Villain Club. It's about anything and everything. That's why I'm the Villain Club. All right, and you can be part of the Villain Club too. It's open for everybody, and it's about opinions that ones want to express but they can't express. So I do it for you. And so this is where it's at here. Let's get to it, all right? Because we know this is one of the biggest issues, shit, in the last few years, or in the last 4 years. How about that? And it's just one of those things. I mean, it was one of the top, talks when it came to the elections, and basically that's what people wanted addressed, right? And when it came to election time on who they're going to pick for the next president. Um, and so with that, you know, you look at what was the topics that needs to be discussed and fixed and all that. And so you have Kamala, you have Trump, and the biggest issues was, of course, open borders, illegal immigration, and economy, right? When it comes to inflation and high cost of everything, right? Um, and they try to make other issues a bigger deal than what it really was, like abortion and all that. And really, it's not that big of a deal. It is a deal, I guess, right? But it's not that big of a deal because, as big as the Democrats were trying to make it, Trump has always maintained and said all along he's not trying to make it a federal issue. He's just going to leave it up to the states. Boom, that's it. Dead issue, right? So if the states decide whatever they want to do, all right. So let's just say one state doesn't allow it, drive on over to the next state and get it done. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things that's not a big deal. And then they try to make it a big deal about, oh, they're taking away your rights and they're taking away this. And you know what's worse? All right. Stuff that Kamala proposed in terms of taking away your Second Amendment rights, right? The gun restrictions and such, and gun buybacks, right? All that stuff is infringing upon your Second Amendment that she's had a record of, right? The censorship that they've done over the last few years when Twitter was owned by the previous owner before Elon Musk and took over Twitter. The censorship of media, all right, and when you look at that censorship of media and how Twitter exposed everything once Elon Musk took it over, it really shows how much Democrats really are all about taking away your rights. And it's even worse in California because Gavin Newsom is doing everything he can to take away all your rights, right? And restrictions on all kinds of shit in California. All right. If he's trying to boast the fifth largest economy in the world, but yet you're putting all these restrictions, how can that make California thrive, right? And so that's the biggest thing. And so it stifles spending in terms of people, consumer spending, because the cost of everything is so damn high, right? On purpose, because they have bullshit stuff like Green New Deal and want to import everything over because you don't want to frack and drill, and it's like, get the fuck out of here, man. And so you have all that, right? But yeah, so the biggest issues, all right, again, is illegal immigration, even in California. See, so another thing, the giveaways, right? So it was addressed. Obviously, people made their pick because um, Kamala wasn't about closing the borders, even though she kept flip flopping and wanted the so-called bipartisan immigration bill to be signed and passed, and blamed the Republicans and Donald Trump for not accepting it when it was a bullshit bill. All right, Some of the facts about the bipartisan border bill that she said she would have put in place on day one, which would have been so bad, is continued illegal immigration of up to 5,000 a day. All right, and I mean, and then they have the right to close it once it hits the 5,000 number, right? But yet that could happen every day. And then at the same time, with the executive order, which they fail to mention, is that you could put an executive order in place for an emergency situation to where it allows the border to be open due to some whatever circumstance, and then that's where the border would be wide open once again, like it is right now. So when you do all that, and crazy as it sounds, it kind of just puts you back to square one, right? So when that got shot down because Biden was trying to press hard to get people to sign it, and they wouldn't sign it. No one would have accepted that shit. And he kept on saying initially about, oh well, if you guys don't sign this, it was like a threat. If you guys don't sign this, we're gonna have issues here with the border that's out of control and all that. And then when it wasn't signed and passed, what does he do? He puts executive orders to close the border, right? Only, as you can see here, it says Biden limits asylum and shuts down border for migrants ahead of the debate with Trump. That way he could boast that, oh yeah, see, look, there's no immigration coming in right now because the border's been shut down. And they were talking about how they had the lowest levels of immigration since for some X amount of years, and it was complete showmanship just to lie and say that, hey, look, see, look, it's been the lowest level it's been in years. All right, and it's like, well, what about the first 3 years before that where you let in over 10 million people? Right, which is pretty funny. And then I like the Democrats try to play people like you're stupid. All right, and some people are stupid because you still vote Democrat and their bullshit deals and policies that they got. But then some of you got smarter and realized that, all right, these guys are full of shit and they lie so much. All right, so now that the election's been decided, Trump's in place, he's putting everything in place to make sure that mass deportation is going to happen. All right. In the meantime, Biden has quietly opened the border to where people are just coming in again. As I mentioned, that it was going to happen because he's a lame duck president. Since Kamala, it didn't matter. He was a lame duck president anyways. They were going to open the border regardless of election results. Even if Kamala won, they were gonna open the border anyways. All right. Biden's a lame duck president, and he doesn't give a shit. Just like he hasn't given a shit in the last 4 years, and always trying to blame Trump. Everybody blames Trump for everything. Um, but the bigger deal is that they opened the border to try to create this sort of replacement. All right, they're trying to replace us working Americans with immigrants, illegal immigrants, that is, to replace us, right? As the elites separate themselves above in a kind of a higher class, then trying to get rid of the working class, middle, and support the illegal immigrants in technically you could say lower class. All right, it's all about control, and that's what Democrats were trying to stroke was control, and to try to weed everybody else out. And they started doing that with the African Americans. All right, and that's the big deal here is that they're trying to weed out starting at the bottom to the top, right? Which culture or race has the biggest struggles right now in America? African Americans, right? And I'm not trying to blow smoke or anything like that, but that's the fact, right? So, and then of course probably the next group would be the Latino Americans that have been here, right? You know, they work the hard labor jobs and things like that, work their ass off, but they're still at the kind of the bottom of the working class because they struggle, right? And that's just the way the system has been done. And if you want to call it the what do you call it, the machine, right? The machine is what's been keeping people down. The Democratic blue machine, who says that they're for the minorities and everything, right? But then they're really not. All they care about is themselves, the elites, and pushing everybody else aside for illegals. Because why are they supporting illegals in everything? But yet, all that money could have been, apparently for us, it's like they dug out of every crevice of money that could have easily been going to us. Probably they've held back for, when you think about it, years. They've been holding back. And then all of a sudden they wanted to give it to the illegals. It doesn't make sense, right? And so, being that the border's open again, guess who's coming, right? Thousands of migrants are back. Talking about this migrant caravan coming. Let's go listen to this right here. All right.
These
1,000 plus. Caravan coming. Because we all know that once Trump's in office,
right now we are
it's all
tracking this caravan. 1,500 migrants are on foot heading for the U.S.-Mexico border. The migrants, mainly from Central and South America, say they want to reach the U.S. before Trump's inauguration in January. News Nation border correspondent Jorge Ventura live for us in San Antonio tonight. Jorge, what are you learning about who these individuals are and the obstacles that they're facing on this journey?
Yeah, Natasha, we're learning that around 1,500 migrants are now taking off from Tapachula, Mexico. That's in the southern border of Mexico, and are headed now to the U.S. border. Migrants say they are anticipating stricter immigration policies under a incoming Trump administration and say they are desperate to cross now. Now, my Mexican sources tell me that it is likely that this migrant caravan will be broken up into smaller groups by Mexican officials before they even reach central Mexico, and that these groups could still make it to the U.S. and actually will be traveling through cartel-controlled routes, which is extremely dangerous. Now, other migrants say they'll try to enter legally by trying to get an appointment on the CBP One app also before those stricter immigration policies take effect.
The president of Mexico could help us with buses because there are many children in various conditions, sick people, elderly. So we want to be heard. We don't want to stay here, but we want to enter before Donald Trump takes office again.
That sounds completely all wrong, right? We want Mexico to supply us buses to lead us to the border, right? Because we have sick people and children. Well, it's like, well, you didn't have to take this journey if you have sick people and you have children that you're worried about. And then sound like to me they're demanding Mexican buses to take them to the border before Donald Trump tightens down the border. That completely all sounds wrong, all right? The entitlement of some people.
What we want is to reach the border and let God's will be done for us to be received. We want to be on the other side before the new president of the United States takes office, as he seems quite harsh on immigrants.
Oh, duh.
Now, President-elect Trump has pledged to end that asylum system, the CBP One app, which has allowed some migrants to enter legally through a port of entry.
That CBP One app.
We're going to have to seal up those borders, and we're going to have to let people come into our country. We want people to come back in.
You got to do it the right way.
We have to let them come back in, but they have to come in legally.
Yeah, you got to do it the right way.
With just 58 days until his inauguration, Trump's day one agenda includes deploying military assets to speed up deportations and building facilities along the southern border. In anticipation of these changes, Texas officials already taking action. The Texas General Land Office has offered the incoming Trump administration 1,400 acres in Starr County, a region that has seen high levels of migrant crossings to support those deportation efforts. State leaders believe this land could be played a critical role in creating facilities for processing and detention as a part of a broader efforts to enhance that border security and coordinate what could be the largest removal of migrants in U.S. history. And also here in Texas, where I am, Natasha, you do have Texas state officials deploying what they call mass migration teams. So you will see more of a heavy presence by Texas state troopers. They are seeing an uptick, though, of unaccompanied minors making it across the border here, Natasha.
An important detail. Jorge Ventura live for us in San Antonio tonight. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Let me try another one right here real quick. Let's see here. Let's go to this one.
Meet
A new caravan of at least 1,500 migrants are rushing to the southern border, trying to make it before President-elect Trump takes office as Texas steps up to help Trump's border agenda.
While we're working on deporting the people, we also have to be equally successful at denying illegal entry. That includes putting up the barriers and doing everything possible to prevent anybody from crossing between a port of entry. We are expanding those buoys in the river. They are completely effective at denying illegal entry, and a byproduct that costs less than building a border wall, which Texas is doing also.
This comes as the Biden administration quietly loosens immigration policies.
There it is.
Former acting ICE director Ron Vitiello joins us now. Ron, thanks for joining us this.
There it is. You saw that, right? It says right there. Quietly loosening immigration policies before Trump takes office, letting migrants skip the ICE check-ins in New York.
Vitiello joins us now. Ron, thanks for joining us this morning. So explain to us this quiet loosening. What exactly has the Biden administration done under the cover of night, actually, to loosen the rules? What are these rules?
Well, thanks for inviting me, Rachel. This is another example where the Biden-Harris administration are going to bring down the rules for in-person check-ins for the 8 million people who are on the non-detained docket at ICE. And so under normal conditions, people would go monthly or every other month or quarterly, depending on what their immigration officer has determined is a successful way for them to report in, to make sure they're on track for their supposed due process in immigration court, whether or not they're going to be able to stay in the United States or not. And so what we know from experience, what I know from experience, both in the Border Patrol and at ICE, is that people who are not detained before they see an immigration judge are not likely to be removed. So when you pull down the in-person reporting to something that's virtual, you're telling the world, just like this administration has told the world about the border, they don't really care about enforcing immigration law. They're not too concerned about the people who are on the non-detained docket, even though there are 1.5 million of that 8 million who have criminal records in the United States or in a foreign country.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable to me. I mean, there was a message sent in this election that people didn't want this. And before they leave office, they're like, we're going to make sure as many of these illegals get in as possible with as little vetting as possible. It's remarkable to me that they can't read the room. I want to talk about this. This is Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey. She's saying she's not going to cooperate with Trump. Listen.
Would the Massachusetts State Police assist in mass deportations?
No, absolutely not. I think that the key here is that, every tool in the toolbox has got to be used to protect our citizens, to protect our residents, and protect our states, and certainly to hold the line.
But yet she's one of the first people to say, hey, citizens of Massachusetts, can you open up your homes to allow some of these poor migrants to, share some space with you? She's one of those first people that would say shit like that. Which she has on a couple of occasions already. And it's like, why don't you open up your home, bitch? Open up your home, because you would not open up your home to a migrant.
To democracy and the rule of law.
Ron, this is fascinating because this, of course, this statement is on the heels of ICE in Boston arresting 3 illegal immigrants, a child sex predator, an MS-13 gang member, and a Brazilian drug trafficker, as sanctuary cities in blue states continue to harbor these criminals. What say you?
It's bizarre. She talks about the rule of law, but that she doesn't want to assist in raising the quality of life of her constituency in the state. Think about it. Who is she protecting? She's trying to protect people who have entered the country illegally, not been invited here, not been inspected, not been vetted. People who are in the country illegally and then are in Massachusetts and break other laws in order to be arrested by local authorities. But she doesn't want to help ICE or help immigration enforcement in the United States.
You get caught.
And the people who are affected the most by this are people
I don't
in
even
poor
need to
communities,
identify who you are. I'm sending you back straight to the border right away.
People who have to live amongst, what we know now are criminals. These Brazilians that
you don't want to give them your name because of some
they did
sanctuary protection
to children.
I'll take you straight
and this
to the
is
border.
who she wants to protect.
And you're out of here.
I'm not sure what the state of Massachusetts cares about, but I think the quality of life in cities and towns all over the United States are being affected by the millions of illegal aliens that are here and millions of them who will go on to commit crimes in these communities. And so that's not the rule of law. It's bizarre for her to say those words out loud. It's just crazy to me.
No, it's insane. And you're right. She sits in a governor's mansion with all kinds of security and protection. And these criminals, as you mentioned, one of them a child predator.
And she would not even open up her home to illegals. So, yeah, screw her. Just like the Chicago governor, Pritzker, just like Kathy Hochul in New York, all these governors, Gavin Newsom, California, all these governors that are willing and open to allow illegals to come in to commit the crimes that they commit and ask you to help support them and help bring them into your homes and all this other crap. And yeah, tell me about it when you guys actually do the same thing that you're trying to preach, right? Practice what you preach. But anyhow, you got migrants coming over, right? Biden's opened up the border, as I was saying before the election, that he's going to open it back up regardless whether they lose or not. And we're going to have an influx of illegals coming in before Donald Trump takes over. So I'm all for illegal immigrant deportation, all right? Because all this stuff needs to bullshit, and all this sanctuary city bullshit needs to end. And it's good that Trump is going to do that, because if you were to vote Kamala in, it would have been disastrous, because it would have been continued open borders, to continued soft on crime policies, to where they don't prosecute. I mean, it has to take a heinous act for them to prosecute anybody, such as the Laken Riley murderer, and other various examples of where a lot of them are just catch and release, and yet they're still giving them everything, right? The debit cards, the homes, the food, all that stuff. And it's just complete crap. So yeah, if you think it's racist or it's biased for this mass deportation program, then go support the illegals and go support them with your money, and tell me how fair is that, all right? Because you think it's so unfair, and these poor people, then go help them, because you are all full of talk, but you won't back up what you're preaching yourself. Anyhow, I can't think of anybody that's really supportive of illegals. I think most people as a whole are in support of mass deportation, and I can't wait. The border crisis, yes, it's still ongoing. As migrant caravans are coming, they're going to shove as much people as they can through that border before it is quote unquote officially closed. And that's sad, because of what Biden and Kamala Harris has done for America, is destroy America with bullshit, all right? And the lies, the cover-ups, and all the crap they've been doing this whole time. It's been a disastrous 4 years, and I'm just glad that people have common sense to not continue this crap by not voting for them. I don't care if it was Biden that ran or Kamala. It was good that they lost because they needed that wake-up call, which they probably won't even wake up from. They're probably going to realize that, oh, you know what? They got us this time. We're going to get them next time. And they don't give a shit because that's how elitist, Democrat, progressive, liberal, blowhards, you know, assholes that they are. All right, they are. I mean, they truly are. You can't tell me how they've done anything good for the country or for anybody. You can't convince me on that. I mean, the stuff they were proposing. I mean, it would have been bad. It would have been real bad. Anyhow, that's just my thoughts for today. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. Subscribe. Hit the bell icon. We can talk about anything and everything. And, I'll answer to it. I don't care. Shoot me a question. Let me know. I'll see you next one.